Oh, y'all, I just want to cry because I don't even know hardly how to thank you enough for being here, not staying home and watching the news. That's all I'm going to say about that. I just can't figure out though, y'all, and with all my heart I mean this, I just can't figure out why you came. I can't understand it, but I guess what I think you want me to talk about how I got, where am I anyway? Traveling all around and how what God's plan for me was. And I didn't know about it at the time when I was doing all that. I thought I was doing everything, you know, but I later found out I wasn't. It was not just my life, each of us, God has a plan for us. And you may not like it all the time, but in your heart, whether anybody else knows that you're supposed to be doing what you're supposed to be doing, you may be the only one that believes in yourself, but that's all you need because God's got you back. I figured, I didn't always know that. I just, like I said, thought that I put my high heel shoes in my little skirt and I'd just go twisting along and my mom would say, get yourself over there and sit yourself down. And I think, I bet Mama don't like me. And she didn't. She loved me, but she didn't like me. I want to tell you about my life. I reckon maybe you want to hear about how I got. I really don't know why you came, but I'm going to tell you what I can think of to tell you. And if you've got questions, I want you to ask me, okay? And I'll give you an honest answer about anything you want to ask me. I reckon I'll start off at the very beginning of how I got in this world. You see my sister sitting over here? This is Myra. Hold your hand up, Myra Joyce. And she's not the baby. She's not the baby sister. She's the oldest sister. She's 2 years older than me. But how you telling everybody you're 84 and a half years old, and I just thought I was 24, see? I wish you'd keep your mouth shut. No, Myra has always been in my life. And whenever I was a little girl, Myra was mighty sick. She had cerebral palsy. She was born with all the sense, and I was born with all the twists. And she would, whenever I came along, my mama and daddy, we lived in Dubberly, Louisiana, and we didn't have very much money, still don't have very much money. But whenever I was born, Mama was tied up with Myra all the time. She was so sick. And so to teach, for entertainment, she taught me songs to sing to Myra. And so with that was the beginning of my career. Because then I thought, oh man, the wonderful thing, y'all, that I found is that the praise that someone gives you as a child, it can make you, or if you don't hear that, you know, because I know I was feisty and everything, but my mama would look at me and she'd just say, I don't know what I'd do without you, Donnie Bug. Now my daddy nicknamed me Donnie Bug. He had another nickname, but I'm embarrassed to tell you what that is, so I'm going to keep that to myself. But he called me Donnie Bug because I was a little old bitty thing. And Mama would tell me, you run over there and do for Myra, go do this and that, do this and that. And she always worried about that. I would get resentful because I was always doing for her. But Myra was always sweet most of the time. No, I always knew that she was going to be my life. And she told me after she got, not even too long ago, we were talking and she says, you know why you were born? And I said, no, Myra, why was I born? And she said, to take care of me. And I thought about that, y'all, and I said, I think you're exactly right. But it didn't stop there. In my mind, I thought about my life, and I realized that my job is to take care of everybody. It just is. That's who I am. And I don't understand why I felt like that, but I just knew that I did. And I can't stand for anybody to be sad. I want to make them, if you're in the hospital, I'll worry you slapped to death. And if you say you ain't cold, I'll say, oh yes you are. If you're in the emergency room, I'm going to get you a blanket. And I'll leave, hey girl, I'll leave out of that emergency room and Bud, my daughter, says, Mama, you're obsessed with somebody being cold. And I said, I don't want to be cold, and I don't want them to be cold. Even when they tell me I don't need anything. I said, oh, you may not now, but you gonna. So I wrap them up. I have them all looking like little cocoons when they go away. Probably gonna get fired after 100 years, huh? But let me get back to my singing. My mama taught maybe the first song she ever taught me, and I knew then I was going to be a singing star. I just knew it. It was flies in the buttermilk, shoe fly shoe. Flies in the buttermilk, shoe fly shoe. Flies in the buttermilk, shoe fly shoe. Skip tumaloo, my darling. I'll sing that tomorrow. Well, I got to thinking about it, and I thought, well, I need to make me up a little dance to go with it too. So I'd get me a little dance. I mean, I'd entertain her. Well, then my twin brothers came along 4 years later. I got them in on the act. But I wanted them to dance with me. And I had a little routine that didn't work out real good. They wouldn't dance with me no more. So that ended that career right there. I ain't gonna tell you what happened. And then y'all, I started off to school in Dubberly, Louisiana, the first grade. I went in there, and Miss Manning was my school teacher. She was beautiful. She was beautiful. And I just thought she was so pretty, and I'd sing. Whenever I go in, I'd tell her I was a singer. She'd say, let me hear you sing. And I'd say, probably Flies in the Buttermilk, the only one I knew. And as time went on, when I started on, we moved out of Dubberly into Minden. Well, I was in Miss Turner's room. Do y'all know Johnny Johnson, our lawyer, attorney? Y'all get on to him because he didn't come tonight. He probably knew I was going to talk about him. Johnny we lived at McIntyre. And Johnny and his family lived in McIntyre too, but just right up the road. Well, Johnny was my best friend, and he'd come and go blackberry picking with me, and I got to be the boss because I was scared of snakes. And I'd go to the bridge and I'd see a blackberry and I'd point to it, and he'd go get it. So Johnny and I've always loved Johnny. And but in the first grade, he whenever they had nap time. Well, I think that was my cue to get up and sing to everybody. That is the absolute truth. I'd just jump right up there and I'd sing them a song. I don't know why the teacher didn't throw me out of school. I'd sing my song and then I'd lay there and take a little nap with the rest of them. And it kept on going, y'all, when I got in high school. Every talent show that they had, I was the first one to sign up. I didn't win on one of them. Not one. I didn't even have honorable mention. And I just knew that I could sing because Mama said I could. She'd make me a little dress. Now, some of y'all are too young to know about the Dinah Shore show. Well, Mama saw a little. Dinah Shore had on a white sailor dress. Oh, it was so pretty. My mother was a seamstress. And she looked at that. Oh, I've never seen it so plain. I know I love that dress. She made me a dress just like that. I was in the talent show and I just knew that dress would do it, but it didn't. But I still didn't win. But the thing that happened is I was on a little dance group, and we were on Channel 12, Teen Time. Some of you may remember that. But I was the shortest one in the dance line, and so I wasn't ever on television. I was always the one on the very end down there. But somewhere along the line, I got a chance to sing a song, and they let me be on the show singing. So I didn't have to be in the dance line no more. I was singing. And I moved from there on to Channel 3. This just shows you how God's plan just keeps rolling right along, right along. I went to Channel 3 and Hub Brando, whose son was the sports broadcaster. He was only about 3 years old, and I traveled with Hub and Tim, his little boy, and I'd go everywhere with them because I was in high school, and Mama didn't. I couldn't find my way down the end of the road hardly, so she sure wasn't going to trust me to drive nowhere. So I'd go with him and Tim, and they would. Where we had shows, like we'd travel and go on the weekends, and sometimes he had his daughter with him. He also had a TV show, so we were on that TV show. Her name was Gigi Brando. She pantomimed. Oh, it was a wonderful show, y'all. It was just real. It gave the young kids a break, and I gotta tell you this. They wanted me to do a commercial with about football. Well, I was a cheerleader, but I tried out for a cheerleader, but I had never been to a football game in my life when I tried out. And I think the only reason I won cheerleader was because I was so scared when I got up there, they said, "Don't you announce it?" And I said, "Oh, okay, what we're going to do?" And they told me, and I went right there, and I said, "We're going to do whatever it was." And I was trying to say, "Y'all yell," but I said, "Y'all yell," and my voice went blank. And I just kept trying. I think they thought I planned it, but I didn't plan it like that. But the cheerleading part really almost got the best of my voice, so I learned to kind of not cheer quite as loud. But I met so many people as I was traveling with Hub Brando. I won the $1,000 scholarship to go to Centenary College, which that, along with to this day, I don't know who gave me a scholarship, but they paid for me to go to Centenary. I don't know who it was. They paid for my room, and I wasn't real smart. I was in the top 20, which was accident, I'm sure. In the high school, there was about 117 out there graduated. And when they called my name in the top 20, I wouldn't get up. I thought somebody was teasing me. Because they all knew I was real gullible, so I just kept sitting there. They said, "Get up, down." So I thought, well, I just can't believe that I'm in the top 20. But I started Centenary College, and during all that time, I was on Hub's show. And they had it was sponsored by Southern Made Donuts. And so they wanted me to do a commercial for Southern Made Donuts and about football. Well, Hub would ask me questions about football, and I just gave the most logical answer I thought it would be, which it never was. But that's how I got started on the commercials. And by the way, later on when I really did get to go to Hollywood, and I got to do a commercial for pantyhose. I knew all about them pantyhose. Okay, but I got ahead of myself. Well, during all the time when I was in high school, y'all, my mother, how in the world did she know how to do all this? I don't know. But some way she got me on a show in Leesville, Louisiana with George Jones. Now that's before George was the George Jones. He was on his way up. I was 13 years old. 13 years old. And my mama made me a little black skirt, tight skirt, because I thought I was 18 or 19 in my heart. I just knew I looked that good. And mama made me a skirt. Now she said, "Now don't be telling everybody that, your age." They told me at Leesville, you don't be telling everybody your age. You're supposed to be at least 18. I said, "Okay." So I did my show, and all the guys was out there, and we was just, they was having a ball. Well, there was dancing and everything. Well, one of the soldiers came up, and I always knew that if you're an entertainer, you're there to entertain. It's for the others to be having a good time. You provide the music for them. Well, one of the little soldiers came up. I know he was mighty homesick because I didn't look like I was 18 years old, but he come up and he asked me if he could have the dance, and I didn't want to hurt his feelings. And I said, oh, I can't dance with you. And he said, why can't you dance with me? I said, because I'm just 13 years old. Well, that was the end of my being in that club. They pitched me out right then. But it didn't, now I'm going to jump around, y'all, but it didn't end my working with George Jones. And I got to, there was a guy in town, Tommy Thompson. He was one of the best guitar pickers there was, and he was working with all the Nashville stars. And he was working with Johnny Horton. Well, they put me on a lot. Tommy believed in me, and he would. Johnny used to put me on some of his shows, and of course I was still in high school, but I couldn't go way off far. But I traveled with him around, like in Texas and around whatever it was on the weekends, and I learned, y'all, a really important message whenever I was. I guess I always knew it, but so it didn't bother me. But to be a girl singer with a group, it may not be that way now, but in my time, girl singers weren't really welcome in a band because they caused too much trouble. You know, imagine that. Class. That's the truth. And none of the wives mind me traveling with their husbands because they knew. I think maybe I believed in the tooth fairies. I didn't even hardly know where babies come from, to tell you the truth. And so I got to travel with all the stars and I'd stay with their wives, you know, and their families whenever we were like in Nashville. But I was traveling with Johnny Horton, and we were in someplace out in Texas, and Tommy was, he just was so good to me. That's the guitar picker. Well, Johnny Horton called me up on stage to do my part of the show, and he said, Dawn, come here, says, we got something to tell you. And I said, okay, and I went over there and he said, I want to tell you, my wife and I are going to have a little baby girl, and we're going to name her after you. Oh my goodness, I just thought that was the biggest thing that ever was, you know. And sure enough, they had a little girl, and they named her, his wife's name was Billie Jean. I'd met her over at the KWKH studios before Johnny. That's when she was with Hank Williams. But Hank had just gotten killed whenever I was going over and cutting. I wish I'd have brought y'all my first record so I could have played that for you. Oh, my mama wrote me the song. That was a hit. It was a hit. Because they cut it over at KWKH, and that's how, I reckon I must have been pretty good because I got some shows out of it. But anyway, Johnny says, we're going to name our little girl after you. And years later, I was over at the hayride, Louisiana hayride, and this pretty young girl came up to me, and it was Johnny Cash who was on the show. Gene wasn't with him, and I'm going to tell you something. No, I ain't going to tell you that. But I tell you what, she should have been with him, that's all I'm going to say. Anyway, I was standing there waiting to go out, and this pretty little girl come up behind me, and she said, Dawn? And I said, yeah. She said, you won't remember me, but she said, I was named after you. And I looked at her and I said, what's your name, baby? And she says, well, my daddy is Johnny Horton. I knew Angela Dawn was what they named her. And she's still in Shreveport. But, you know, that just was such an honor to me, for them to name her after me. But Tommy Tomlinson was working with George Jones a lot. And he said, Dawn, George is going to go out to Texas for a week. We want you to be on the show. Well, he said, but now, and I don't mean this to be detrimental to him anyway, but anything that you've read, you know I'm telling you the truth, so I ain't fibbing to you about nothing, okay? Well, like I say, I wasn't that kind of girl. I said, all righty. So he said, the boys in the band's going to have a big van. You know, they're going to be in a bus. Because we were going to go all over Texas. And he said, you're going to get to ride with George. Well, George had a little sports car. It was mighty pretty. So we'd go along, you know, and he'd talk. He was really, really nice to me. But he got a little bit tipsy a time or two, and we was driving along, and I don't want you to think I'm talking bad about him, okay? But I just got to tell you it was the truth, because, and I reckon the story got around that I was, anyway. I was sitting there, he was driving along. He said, "Don't you want to drive my car?" And I said, "Oh, yeah, I sure do." So he pulled over the side of the road and got out. I got over there to the driver's side. Man, I thought that was it. We was driving along. Well, I looked over. It was like shorts, but they came down to like right here with a little skirt. And you just buttoned the first button, you know, and then you had the shorts underneath it. Well, when you sit down, it was just like the shorts, you know. He reached over and put his hand on my knee. And I said, don't you do that. And he thought I was just enticing him. But I wasn't. And I said, "You do that." And I was real easy to get along, but I tell you, my mama taught me better than that. And I said, "I pulled this car over the side of the road, and don't you do that no more." Well, he did it again. I just pulled right over, and I stopped, and he didn't want to behave still. And I said, "If you don't stop it, I'm going to throw them keys over in the bushes." And he didn't believe it, and I gave him a chunk. But I looked where they was going to land, because well, the boys in the band came along behind us, and they pulled over, and they said, "Don, what's wrong?" I said, "Oh, George," I love George. He was out looking for the keys, and he wasn't nowhere close by them keys. I tell you. I said, "I think I put them. I think they went over there, but they was really over here." And so he said, "The boys." I told the boys in the band where the keys were. They found the keys, and I wouldn't ride with George anymore. I got the bus with the boys. Well, we took on off, and we was in Uvalde, is that the right word? Uvalde, Texas? Well, we had a packed house. We had 3 shows to do. They were lined up around. I had never seen so many people in all my life. Just lined up, waiting to get in to see George. The band was fantastic. And I was all decked out in my pretty little dress, and I just thought, well, they weren't there to see me, they were there to see him. But I was rubbing elbows with him. So they called me out. I did my show. We had three great shows. Well, in between, when George wasn't on the show, he was a-drinking. And by that 3rd show, it was just about all she wrote, you know? Well, we still had lines of people out there wanting to get in to see George. So the owner of this huge club told him, said, "We'll pay you extra if you'll do another show." Well, nobody minded doing another show. We were there. Oh, y'all, the band started. Oh, my gosh. The band started playing. The lead singer started singing. He called me up, and I got the microphone and started singing. George hopped up there. He got the guitar away from the lead guitar picker. He broke the guitar. The band went scattering out the back door. I hit it first because I knew where the bus was. I didn't want to stay back there. We took off. We left everybody behind. That was the end of the tour. That was the end of the tour. I promise you. But it wasn't the end of George, because whenever everybody got back where we were supposed to spend the night, I wasn't going to stay where they was going to stay, because I was scared of him. I was scared. So the manager said, "You come and you stay with me and my wife and little boys." And I looked at his wife, and she says, "We'll take care of you." I said, "Okay." We got in the house. We just got there good, and somebody was banging on the door. Guess who it was? George. I said, "I ain't going." That was, needless to say, I didn't get asked to tour with them no more. But the funny thing was, years later, we were at Wheeling, West Virginia, and George was on the show. And I'd been traveling a good bit with a lot of guys and ladies, and So I was booked on the show, and I was standing there with my back to him, and somebody came up behind me. He didn't recognize it was me. He tapped me on the shoulder to talk to me, and when I looked around, he said, I ain't gonna tell you what he said, but he was really nice. He was really nice. And then after that, in Shreveport, they put him in the Hall of Fame over at the museum. And he came through town, and he called me and said, we're gonna be at the show, why don't you come over? Well, my son-in-law, Jitterbug's husband, he loved George Jones. And I said, okay, we'll be there. Well, we got into, and you know, it's all in who you know. It's all in who you know. The place was packed. It was just packed. And I got over there. Well, this was after the museum. He said, we're going to do the show tonight at one of them, Horseshoe Casino. He said, I'm going to be out there. He says, why don't you come be on the show with us? And so I said, I looked at Johnny, and I knew he was going to just die. He wanted to go so bad. I said, okay. I said, okay, we'll be there. Well, we just went tromping that night. We went tromping on where the boys, the band, and everybody was parked. And Johnny, the Jitterbug, you tell them if this ain't the truth. Oh, gosh. Johnny almost missed the whole thing. He said, Mom, where are you going? I said, just follow me. So I was going along, I was behind him. Well, about that time, George walked out, and Johnny missed the whole thing. He had to go to the bathroom. He missed getting to see George. And so I was telling George, who was practicing, and he said, why don't y'all just, I mean, it was packed house. There was not a place for anybody to sit. He said, we'll put y'all on the stage on the side over there. And that's what happened. They put him, Jitterbug, whoever all was with us on the side of the stage. And so his life was just precious. She worked at Blues whenever I sang there. And that's where they kind of met up, I think. And so she was, in fact, they did a memorial or something. I think she had a book review, wrote about her life with George. And she sent me an invitation to come. But I didn't go. I don't fit into that kind of stuff. I don't have anything to say. I was so flattered, but I wouldn't have known. I wouldn't have added a blame thing. I've just been like a stick in the mud. And I know that, so I know my limitations. So I declined, but I thought it would. I saved the card and I showed it to Johnny. He said, Mom, go. So I tell you, now, y'all got to let me know when it's 6 o'clock, because I don't want to keep you too long here. And if you want to ask me questions, you just interrupt, okay? Because I'm just flitting around telling you things that comes to my mind. I'll have to tell you about, I thought, I don't know if you know who Johnny Paycheck is. Well, I got booked with Johnny Paycheck. The guy that was booking me also booked, Hank Williams Jr., He booked all the big stars. How in the world, but for God, did I get with a top? Because I wasn't that good. And I just can't figure out how I got to be with all those top people. It's just amazing to me. But I honestly was. Well, he booked me with Johnny Paycheck, and one of his, did y'all hear the song, about the old fiddle? Worn out fiddle, that was his hit. Oh, I loved it. And Johnny was so nice. He was so nice. Well, we got to where we were supposed to be going, and I had to take a bus on to some kind of a little, not a car, but kind of like a taxi kind of thing. Well, y'all, I hate to tell you this, because I was full grown, and I should have known better than this, but I didn't have one penny in my pocket. I didn't even think about money. I didn't have no money to pay that cab driver when we pulled up there, and he said it'll be such and such amount of money. And I thought it was a joke in me. And I said, how much? And I said, I don't have any money. And he said, well, you got to pay. And I thought, I didn't know what to do. But the guy that owned the club came out. He said, I'll take care of it. I'll take it out of a check. And see, God saved me there, didn't He? He also saved me whenever I went to Nashville. I was booked on some show up there. Oh gosh, y'all. Do you want me to tell you everything? Okay, but now I know how I don't think I ever really did have good sense. I don't think I ever grew up. God didn't make me grow up. He's let me still be a little girl. I know He did, because even now I just don't get it. But anyway, I was booked at I think it was Printer's Alley. Have any of you ever heard Printer's Alley? It was a place where it was a dump, really. It really was, but that's where all the Nashville stars hung out. After the hayride, the Grand Ole Opry. And by the way, I was on the Grand Ole, but that's another story. I got to Nashville. I didn't know anything about you're supposed to tip the guys, when they take your luggage. So whenever the taxi cab stopped and let me out, all my luggage was sitting there. I was used to picking one along and picking it up, and I got it where it was supposed to go. And this young man came up with his little cap on. He said, "I'll take that for you." And I said, "No, sir, I can take it." And he said, No, little lady, I'm going to take this for you. And he picked up my suitcases. He took me up to the room, and he sat them down. And I said, "Thank you so much." And he said, and I looked at his hand, and he said, "You're supposed to tip me." And I said, "Tip you?" And I thought, oh y'all, I hate to tell you this, but I only had 13 cents in my pocket. But I told him the truth. I said, I haven't got 13 cents, but I'll give it to you. And he was so kind, he said, "No, you keep your money." But he didn't get mad. He was mad at me to begin with. He was mad at me. He thought I was playing him. I heard that word somewhere. playing somebody, But I just really felt bad for being that dumb. But I didn't have any money, and I didn't know I was supposed to tip. I never had been out of Dublin very much, so how did I know that? But the thing that I found out, y'all, is how glorious the world is. And people take you like you are. And nobody gave me a hard time. Nobody gave me a hard time. I traveled, but I bet you it looked like I wasn't a very nice person, because when I traveled with all the guys in the band, and because we didn't have the money at that time, everybody had the big nice buses, not everybody had big nice buses. We had traveled in a van, or a car that had that hump in the middle. Does anybody remember that? The boys in the band let me ride on the hump because they didn't want to ride on there. And I didn't mind. They said, "Don't you sit right there." I said, "Okay." I never did give them no trouble. And sometimes their language could be mighty colorful. But it didn't bother me a bit, because my papa talked like that. So, they'd apologize to me, and I said, "It don't bother me. Y'all just be yourself." I did not want to be a burden or a bother, or just someone that caused trouble. I just was there because I was supposed to be there, and I was going to do my job. And when I got through with my show, I went back to my room and I watched Bugs Bunny and all the cartoons that bang on the door, and I wouldn't open the door because I had a parties going on down here, dog. I had my own party, and Bugs Bunny was sitting there. Now, y'all, ain't that sad? Ain't that sad that there I was a full-grown woman? They told me I was. But I sure didn't feel like it. I felt like, and I still feel like that little girl back in Douglas, Louisiana, that thought I always wanted to be a movie star. I always wanted to dress fancy. In fact, I was going to dress fancy tonight with Savannah Jones. Excuse me. Well, it was Brown. It's Jones now. That's my great grandbaby over there, by the way. I said, "I think I'm going to wear such and such." I was going to wear a tight, hot pink, sequined jumpsuit. I wanted to wear that so bad. But she just dashed my dreams and said, "Mammy, tone it down a little bit." I said, "Well, I just think they'd love this outfit." So I decided to get this old grabby thing. But do y'all want me to just keep on going? Do y'all want to ask me some questions about anything?
Tell us about Grand Ole Opry.
Okay, that's when I was singing with Claude King. Do you remember Wolverton Mountain? I was traveling with Claude King and his band, and they were on the Grand Ole Opry. Well, he came out there and did his thing, and I sang some song, and then I just got to do one song, but he did his show. But and they were wonderful to me. Backstage, everybody's like a family. It's like a family, and you are, I wasn't nobody, but they didn't know that, because everybody that's not somebody is up and coming, How do you know who's going to be a great big star? But y'all, this is the thing. Every time I got where, I was out in Santa Maria Del Rey, Santa Monica Del Rey. Sonny and Cher they were the headliners, but I was going to open their show for them, and they had never met anybody as gullible as me. I'm not talking about Sonny and Cher. I didn't meet them. They didn't come out till after I was off. But the promoters put me on the show, and every night my show got better and better, because by the end of the week, I was going to get to come home. See my baby, I want to see my baby. And so I was getting so excited, and I'd hop and jump, and I just couldn't be still, and I'd sing my heart out. Well, I got people coming up, wanting me to do commercials for them, and all kind of offers. And I just couldn't figure it out. They thought I was a very shrewd businesswoman, me. Because I said, no, I got to go back to Louisiana. They thought I was playing them, trying to get them to give me more money, more stuff. Listen to this, y'all. They offered me, and why did they do that? Why? I just keep saying why. But they offered me a fabulous house, swimming pool, car. I think they were just trying to figure out what was wrong with me, maybe. But I just wanted to come home, and every time I'd almost get to where I was on my way, I'd come back home and see my baby, see my mom and my daddy, and see y'all. You don't realize how much you mean to me. You've all helped me in some way or another. You've listened to me, you've helped me, and I've bugged some of you to death. I know I have. But when you know that that's what God has for you, and you may have to stand against everybody, as long as it's right, I'll stand for it. And so you just don't, I owe this whole town so much. And for you to ask me to come and just tell you a little glimpse of what I did in my life, it's the most wonderful thing that could ever happen to me. My family hears me talk about it all the time. Savannah, the other day, I said, "Oh, let me tell you about it." She said, "No, Mammy, don't tell me that one. I hadn't heard that story before, and now I forgot what story I was going to tell you." Can you give me a clue? Okay.
Tell them about Bob Hope's birthday party.
Bob Hope's birthday party? Okay.
I got to tell you that.
Huh? Jitterbug was in the, well, I got to start off with this. It was for 3 years, there was a huge, and I got proof of all this, y'all. If you ever want to, if you get back home, you think, she's just making all that up. I promise you I'm not. I got a call from Bob Hope's people to the person that was booking me to come be on his show it was a big telethon. They were having all the big stars, not just country, but just Everybody was on the show. And I've got the script. By the way, I've got the script whenever I was supposed to come out and everything, so I'll save that. But each year, they'd call me to come back out, and it was televised. It was just a grand thing. Well, after the third year, Jerry was going to be in a beauty pageant at school at Glenbrook, and it was on the same time that he was having his big show. And they called me, and I said, I'll have to decline this year. They said, oh, you got another offer? And I said, well, kind of. You see, my daughter, and that ended that. They didn't invite me no more. And I didn't care, because she didn't win no way. You did the next year, baby. You won next year. Oh, Lordy, y'all. My life has been, I didn't have a blame thing to do with it. I didn't have a blame thing to do with it. I just still, to this day, it amazes me that I get to do it. And I still get to sing. I got to wear that hot pink outfit not too long ago too. And I when they called and asked me to be on the show, I said, "Oh, y'all, you need to get somebody else. Get somebody, because this was a big thing for them." And they said, "No, it's unanimous. We voted, we want you." And I thought, I just couldn't believe that. I couldn't get nobody else, is what they're asking me to do it, I bet you. But anyway, I got my songs all together, and I told the boys in the band, I said, now look, I have no idea what's going to come out of my mouth. But I promise you one thing, we're going to have a ball. And I said, whenever I say hit it, y'all jump into Wildwood Flower, and you just take it till, and see, I knew that I could outrun them. When I say outrun them, because their fingers do it this way, and I said, faster, 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 faster. And their fingers got tired. My legs didn't get tired. Because about 2 days before, I'd done run 13 miles, and I knew I could do it. And finally, they just quit. They just dropped the picks, and they just quit. I said, well, y'all rest up, fellas, because at the end of the show, I'm going to take y'all coon hunting. If any of y'all ever been coon hunting?